What happens when a CEO trades his penthouse office for a name tag and headset at one of his own resorts? Quentin O'Donnell leaned back in his leather chair, staring at the performance reports stacked on his desk. 19 luxury resort locations, all profitable. On paper, everything looked fine. But the customer reviews told a different story. The resort in Santa Fe was slipping slow service, long hold times on the phone, and a few guests even said they were ignored at the front desk. Quentin hated that word. It was the same place he'd put millions into renovating 5 years ago after buying the chain from a retiring hotelier. He hadn't been hands-on in years. Too many board meetings. Too many layers between him and the people actually running the place. He reached for his notebook and wrote 2 words. Go quiet. No warning. No corporate emails, just him showing up. Quentin spent the next 3 days planning. He grew a short, scruffy beard, wore contacts instead of his usual wire frame glasses, and dyed his salt and pepper hair a darker brown. He'd never personally met the resort's front-line workers. They only knew the CEO by name, if that. And since the resorts were branded under a name he didn't share, no one would make the connection. He applied for a seasonal call center trainee position under the name David Owens. The resort's front desk manager, a woman named Kristen, called to confirm. We're short-handed, so if you can start Monday, that'd be great. Monday works, he said. By 7:30 a.m., Quentin was standing behind the resort's reception desk, dressed in a stiff navy polo and khaki slacks. A headset was clipped to his ear, and a laminated Trainee David badge hung around his neck. The front desk was a mess of blinking lines and frustrated sighs. Only one other person was working the phones. A young woman with tired eyes and a bright smile turned to him. You must be David, I'm Alara, let's get you set up. Her handshake was warm, but her fingers trembled just slightly. For the next few hours, she walked him through the reservation system. She was patient but fast. Every few minutes, she juggled another call or handled a walk-in. The line at the desk grew, and still no one else came to help. By noon, Quentin was already sweating and had fumbled 2 calls. Sorry, he said quietly after a woman hung up in frustration. Alara shrugged. You're doing fine, it's just, Mondays are brutal. She glanced at the clock. I've been here since 6, he blinked. Since 6, your shift started early. No, I picked up the morning shift. They asked last minute. I've been covering a lot lately. He frowned. Anyone else coming in? She shook her head. Doubt it. Our night receptionist quit 2 weeks ago. Kristen said corporate froze hiring, so it's just been me and whoever they can pull from housekeeping. Quentin felt a knot form in his stomach. He hadn't frozen any hiring. A man in a blazer walked past, sipping coffee and laughing into his phone. He didn't stop to help. Who's that? Quentin asked. Daniel. He's the manager on duty today. He doesn't help with the desk, Alara gave a tired laugh. Not unless someone's screaming. But hey, he's good at scheduling meetings. Quentin watched as another call came through. Alara answered, her voice still calm and sweet. Thank you for calling. This is Alara. How can I help you? Quentin noticed the slight slump in her shoulders. She didn't break, didn't complain, but her body was clearly running on fumes after the call. He leaned in. How many hours do you work a week? She hesitated. Last week, 59, his jaw clenched. Is that normal? She gave a small, tired smile. It's been the new normal. He stared at her for a long second. Do they pay you overtime? Technically, but it's capped. So anything past 50 I get time off instead, but I can't really take the time off. No one to cover. Quentin opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't know what to say. He'd built this place to be a sanctuary, not a sweatshop. He felt his stomach twist. A guest at the front desk slammed a water bottle down. Hello, I've been waiting 15 minutes. Alara turned and smiled instantly. Of course, sir. I can help you right now. She handled it, just like she handled everything else. But something in her eyes, some shimmer of exhaustion, hit him hard. Quentin had come looking for answers. He didn't expect to find them staring back at him with a headset and a smile, and now he knew. It was time to dig deeper. By Thursday, Quentin had memorized the rhythm of the resort's front desk, if you could call it that. The chaos wasn't a surge, it was constant. Calls didn't taper off. Guests didn't stop arriving early or staying late, and Alara, she never sat, not once. She moved from guest to phone to printer to computer like she was wired to the building itself. But it wasn't just Alara. There was Darnell, an older man who worked the bell desk. He barely said more than a few words to anyone, but Quentin noticed him lugging bags up 4 flights more than once after the elevator near the east wing broke. No complaints, no radio calls, just quiet sweat. Then there was Inez, who handled housekeeping requests and somehow also wound up chasing down pool towels and refilling vending machines. The resort ran like a barely patched raft, and somehow the ones bailing water weren't the ones steering. "I thought this place was supposed to be luxury," Quentin muttered as he tried to navigate the outdated reservation interface, fumbling through a room change request. Alara leaned over, pointing to a hidden drop-down. "Click there, then override with the manager code." "It's buried," he raised an eyebrow. "Why not update the system?" asked Daniel, she said without flinching. "He said IT upgrades were not in Q2 priorities, whatever that means." "Have you told anyone higher up?" Her hands didn't stop moving. "I emailed corporate last month." "Never heard back." Quentin stared at her. "You emailed them personally?" "Yeah, I figured maybe if someone saw what was really going on they'd send help, or at least fix the phones, but I guess they're busy." He didn't answer. He couldn't. Because that email, if it ever reached his office, had been buried somewhere under layers of middle management. At exactly 3:22, a guest stormed up to the desk dragging a suitcase with a broken wheel. "This is the 3rd time I've called about the air conditioning," she snapped. "No one came. I'm done waiting." Alara stepped forward, her tone clear but kind. "Let me get you into a different room. I'm so sorry for the inconvenience." "I don't want a new room. I want someone competent enough to fix a thermostat." Quentin watched Alara's mouth tighten, not a flinch. "Just quiet restraint." "I understand," she said. "We'll make this right." Daniel appeared from the hallway, adjusting his tie as if he'd just walked out of a photo shoot. "Everything okay here?" he asked, barely glancing at the woman. Alara answered before Quentin could. "Guest in 412 has had no A/C since this morning. Maintenance didn't respond." Daniel nodded slowly. "Right, I think they're backed up. Just comp her a dinner and move her to West Tower." "You already gave out the last West Tower king," Alara said. He rubbed his chin. "Then just figure something out." The guest turned to him. "Are you the manager?" "I'm the MOD, yes." She looked him up and down. "Then you figure it out." Daniel smiled thinly. "We'll take care of you. Alara can handle the transfer." Without another word, he turned and left. Quentin followed him. He caught up near the staff hallway. "Hey," Quentin said. "Quick question." Daniel looked him over. "Yeah, how often do you check in with maintenance?" "Excuse me?" "Just wondering. Seems like they're getting backed up a lot." Daniel exhaled through his nose. "Look, I don't know who you are, but I don't really have time to babysit maintenance. They clock in, they do their job. If they don't, that's on them." Quentin narrowed his eyes. "And front desk being short," Daniel shrugged. "Everyone's short these days. Nobody wants to work. Besides, Alara's solid. She holds it down. By herself. Hey, she's still here, isn't she? That's what I call reliable." Quentin felt something hardening behind his ribs. He didn't say anything else. He just turned and walked back. By Friday, he started asking around more. He caught Darnell during a lull. "How long you been here?" Quentin asked. 6 years. "You like it?" Darnell looked out at the parking lot. "Used to, before they changed everything." "What changed?" "Used to be 5 bellmen, now it's me." Quentin blinked. "Just you?" "Yup. Why not hire more?" "Ask management. They say it's budget realignment." He paused. "You ever think about quitting?" Darnell gave a dry laugh. "I got kids, mortgage, health plans decent, so I stay." "Ain't that the game?" Later that night, Quentin stayed late to review the call logs. He wanted to understand the traffic. How bad could it really be? He pulled up the dashboard on the front desk terminal. Over 900 calls routed to 2 receptionists in the past 5 days. The average hold time, 12 minutes. 47 abandoned calls just that day. He scanned a few guest notes, angry feedback about missed wake-up calls, delayed check-ins, one even accused the staff of being cold. Quentin knew that wasn't true. Exhausted wasn't cold. It was survival. At 10:30, he caught Inez in the supply room restocking coffee pods. "You always here this late?" he asked. "Only on Fridays," she said, not looking up. "And Wednesdays." "Do you get paid for both jobs?" She hesitated. "Technically, I'm support staff, so I get per-shift bonuses. But not full hourly for both." Quentin clenched his jaw. "That legal," she shrugged. "Wasn't my idea," he paused. "You ever report it?" "To who?" "HR, there in Phoenix." The next morning, Quentin came in early, earlier than anyone else. He wanted to see what it looked like before the rush. The lobby was quiet, the sun just starting to rise through the high windows. The silence was heavy. He went to the break room, old plastic chairs. A vending machine with more warning stickers than snacks. A corkboard with faded announcements. One of them read, "We appreciate you," in Comic Sans. The door creaked open. Alara walked in, her hair tied back, eyes still puffy. "Didn't expect you here early," she said, filling a paper cup with coffee. "Wanted to see what it's like before the storm." She gave a soft laugh. "Pretty much the same, just quieter." He hesitated. "You ever think about leaving?" She didn't answer for a while. Then, "Yeah. But then I remember the guests who come back just to say hi. One woman wrote me a letter last Christmas thanking me for helping her mom during a medical emergency. Said I reminded her that people still care." Quentin swallowed. "That's a lot to carry." "I don't mind carrying it, I just wish someone noticed." He looked at her, really looked. "I did," he said. She gave him a puzzled glance. "What?" He opened his mouth, then stopped. "Not yet, not here." Instead, he stood. "You'll want to be at the desk. The phones are already blinking red." She nodded and followed him out, but something in his stride had changed. He wasn't just an observer anymore. He was a leader who'd finally seen the cost of silence. Saturday morning came with a cold wind through the automatic doors, unusual for Santa Fe in April. Quentin stood behind the desk in the same stiff uniform, headset already warming his ear. He hadn't slept much. The previous night, he'd stayed late reviewing schedules and quietly speaking to night maintenance, learning more than he wanted to admit. The pieces were coming together, and none of them painted a picture he could ignore anymore. By 8, the line at the front desk had already stretched to the lobby chairs. A family of 6 was asking about adjoining rooms. A newlywed couple had been given a suite with 2 twin beds, and the printer kept jamming. Alara wasn't on shift yet. Her schedule had finally allowed for a morning off after nearly 2 weeks without one. Quentin had insisted she take it quietly, without revealing his real identity. He told Kristen the new guy had volunteered to cover. Kristen hadn't argued. At 9:30, Daniel breezed in wearing a pale gray pullover and sunglasses hooked into the collar. He stopped by the desk to pour himself a cup of lobby coffee, then casually leaned on the counter. "You're the one covering for Alara?" he asked. Quentin didn't look up from the screen. "That's right," Daniel sipped. "She's a workhorse, huh? Kind of annoying how she keeps pushing herself." Quentin froze. "Excuse me?" "I mean, she's great and all," Daniel said, setting the cup down, "but she makes the rest of the team look bad, always here, always doing extra." Management notices that kind of thing, sets a weird precedent. Quentin turned to look at him. "You think her reliability is a problem," Daniel shrugged. "She's too invested, you give too much, you start expecting things back. Promotions, raises, recognition." "That's not how this works." Quentin stared at him, feeling something coil tighter in his chest. "Tell me something. When was the last time you sat at this desk and took calls?" Daniel gave a short laugh. "I don't do front desk, that's for hourly staff." "Right." "Of course." Daniel didn't seem to register the edge in Quentin's voice. He walked off, tapping something into his phone. By noon, the phones were stacked again. Quentin handled them with more ease now. He'd learned the system's flaws, how to work around the frozen screens and mislabeled tabs. But the volume was relentless. A middle-aged man approached the desk, red in the face, holding a phone charger. I was told someone would bring this to my room an hour ago, he said. I'm very sorry for the delay, Quentin said. I'll make sure it's delivered now, or you're welcome to take it with you. The man took it without another word and walked off. Inez appeared from the hallway, clipboard in hand, whispering as she passed. Laundry machines down again, no towels for the spa wing. Quentin nodded. I'll help after lunch, she paused. You're not supposed to do that, he looked at her. Supposed to doesn't apply today. At 1:15 he stepped into the back office. Kristen was at the desk, reviewing a spreadsheet. Her energy was sharp but strained. She looked up. Need something? I've been here 6 days, Quentin said, and I haven't seen a single member of corporate visit. Is that normal? Kristen blinked. We had someone last quarter, brief check-in. They did a walkthrough, met with Daniel. Anyone speak directly with staff? Not that I know of. They don't really stay long. Quentin nodded slowly. You've been here how long? 4 years this summer. You manage scheduling, she hesitated. Mostly. Daniel signs off on final approvals. Then help me understand this. Why are there only 2 people scheduled for front desk during peak hours? Kristen shifted in her seat. It's complicated. We're working with reduced labor hours, corporate mandates. From who? She paused again. Daniel said it came down from the regional office. I don't see the actual memos. Quentin leaned forward. So you're scheduling people based on what he tells you, but you don't verify it? I can't override his decisions. You can raise concerns. I did. Twice. I was told to focus on retention and morale. He studied her face. How's morale, Kristen? She looked away. Before he could press further, a radio crackled from her desk. A voice came through. Security to front desk. We've got a situation with a guest. Quentin was already moving. By the time he reached the lobby, a tall man in a wrinkled polo was shouting at Darnell, who stood quietly beside a cart of luggage. I asked for someone to help me 15 minutes ago. The man barked. What do they even pay you people for? Darnell didn't flinch. Sir, I'm the only Bell staff on today. I just finished assisting another family. The guest stepped in closer. You expect me to believe that? You're standing here doing nothing. Quentin stepped in. Sir, that's enough. The man turned. Who the hell are you? Someone who's not going to let you speak to staff like that, the guest scoffed. I pay to be here, I expect service. And you'll get it, Quentin said, voice level. But you don't get to disrespect people while you wait. The guest glanced around, saw others watching, and grabbed his bag. I'll take care of it myself. Joke of a resort. He stormed off. Quentin turned to Darnell. You okay? Darnell gave a short nod. Not the first time. It'll be the last, Quentin said. He returned to the back office. Kristen, he said, I need you to print me the last 3 months of schedules, all departments, and the payroll logs. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Why? Because I'm the man who's been signing your checks. She stared at him. What? He pulled the badge from around his neck and set it on the desk. Quentin O'Donnell, he said, owner, CEO, and very tired of being lied to. She stood slowly, mouth slightly open. I'm not here to make a scene, but I'm done watching my people carry this place on broken backs. She sank into her chair. I didn't know, I believe you, he said, but I need truth, not excuses, starting now. He walked out and headed toward the staff lounge. Daniel was inside, laughing with someone from housekeeping. His feet were on the table, coffee in hand. Quentin stepped in. Take your feet off the table. Daniel looked up confused. What's your problem? I'm your boss, Quentin said, and you're done. Daniel's face went pale. What are you talking about? You've manipulated staffing numbers, ignored guest complaints, and created a work culture that runs on burnout and dismissal. You've treated your best employees like liabilities. You can't just, I can, and I am, security will escort you out. Your final paycheck will be mailed. Do not contact any staff members and do not step foot on this property again. Daniel stood, voice raised. This is insane. Quentin didn't blink. What's insane is how long this went unchecked. Daniel stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Quentin turned to the woman still seated at the table. You're safe, he said. And starting Monday, things will change. She nodded quickly, eyes wide. That evening, Quentin sat in the break room beside Darnell, Inez, and Alara, who had returned for her evening shift. "I owe you all something," he said, "and not just thanks." They watched him silently. "There's going to be a restructuring, effective immediately. Hiring freezes are gone, systems will be updated, overtime abuse stops now, and I'm promoting from within." He looked at Alara. "You've kept this place from falling apart. How would you feel about leading the front office team?" She froze. "Me, you already do. Might as well get paid and recognized for it." Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them away. "I'd want to do it right," she said. "With a real team. You'll have one." He turned to Darnell. "We're hiring 3 more Bell staff. You'll help train them." Darnell's face remained unreadable, but he gave a small nod. "Housekeeping will get full hourly for every role," Quentin said to Inez. "No more support staff bonuses. That ends tonight," she exhaled slowly. "About time." Quentin stood. "This resort was built to feel like a retreat, a place people could trust. That doesn't work if the people who run it are drowning. I lost sight of that. I won't again." No applause. No back pats, just a quiet, shared understanding that something had shifted. And this time it wasn't just talk. The following Monday, the resort lobby didn't look different on the surface. Guests still rolled in with wheeled luggage and high expectations. Calls still rang at the desk. But something underneath had shifted. The weight of silence was gone. Quentin arrived at 7 sharp, this time in a tailored jacket instead of a staff polo. He didn't blend in anymore, he wasn't trying to. He stood near the front desk, arms crossed lightly, watching the morning team settle in. 2 new hires stood near Alara, listening as she outlined the day's check-in pattern. Her badge now read Front Office Supervisor. She noticed him and gave a quick nod, not a smile, just acknowledgement. She was focused. She didn't need hand-holding, only support, and she had it now. Kristen approached from the back office, a tablet in hand. "I finished revising the schedules through next week," she said. "We've got 5 full-time front desk staff starting their onboarding today. 3 are locals, 2 transferred from our Taos property." Quentin flipped through the digital roster. Every shift was now double covered, call volumes had been factored in. No more solo coverage during peak hours. "You verified their training hours?" he asked. "Confirmed," she said. "And I spoke with payroll. No more comp time in place of overtime. Everyone's getting properly logged." He nodded. "Good, make sure HR sends that in writing." She hesitated. "About Daniel, do you want me to communicate anything to the regional team?" "I already did," he said. "They're auditing his previous reports and verifying every schedule he signed off on. If they find anyone else complicit, we'll deal with it the same way." A woman in a navy suit approached the desk, Lucinda from corporate HR. She'd flown in from Phoenix to handle the fallout. She and Quentin spoke briefly in the corner while Alara helped a guest who'd lost their room key. "The anonymous report you requested was finished last night," Lucinda said. "It's what you expected. Manipulated labor data, falsified training records, and a pattern of stonewalling complaints." He kept his voice low. "Did you find anything on retaliation?" "One case. A front desk worker who left last year filed a complaint about unsafe conditions. Daniel reduced her hours after that. We've already reached out to her. Offer her a position back if she's willing, and a formal apology." Lucinda blinked. "You want to rehire someone we failed, if she wants it, yes. If not, we make it right anyway." She nodded and left to prepare the internal memo. By mid-morning, a few of the new hires were shadowing Inez and Darnell. Inez had taken up a temporary role training new housekeeping staff. She kept things efficient, not warm, not cold, just professional. "You good with this?" Quentin asked her as she restocked supplies in the staff hallway. She didn't look up from the inventory sheet. Better than chasing vending machines and folding towels in the same hour. He glanced at the new staff rolling carts down the corridor. "You're not used to help yet, are you?" "Not yet," she said, "but I'll get there." "Long as it sticks." "It will," he said. "We're building this to last." She raised an eyebrow. "You just say that or you mean it." "I mean it. I'm not disappearing again." As he walked through the kitchen corridor toward the operations wing, he passed Darnell loading bags onto a cart. One of the new bellmen, a younger guy named Matteo, stood nearby watching closely. "Lift with your legs, not your back," Darnell told him. "Unless you want to be walking like me by age 40. Matteo laughed, mimicked the motion, and they both disappeared into the elevator alcove. Quentin stepped into the employee lounge just before lunch. The vending machine had been replaced with a proper fridge and stocked shelves, nothing fancy, but better than stale chips and expired soda. Ilara was sitting at the corner table, typing something into a laptop beside a stack of guest feedback forms. Her hair was pulled back in a tighter bun than usual, and her posture had shifted straight, alert, no longer weighed down by exhaustion. He sat across from her. "You're not on desk, training hour. I'm building a response template for guest issues, something the team can use to handle recurring problems without scrambling," he nodded. "That's smart," she kept typing. "We had 3 calls this morning about the shuttle not arriving on time. Turns out the schedule we give guests doesn't match the one transportation uses." "I'll fix that," he said. "I'll speak with the operations director this afternoon." She finally looked up. "So, you're really staying involved?" "I am," she paused. "I've seen owners make promises before. Then they vanish until the next crisis." "I'm not a ghost in a suit," he said. "I've already restructured the reporting chain. No more gatekeepers between us and corporate. I'll be visiting monthly, reviewing reports myself." She leaned back slightly. "Why now?" "Because I let this place run on autopilot. I convinced myself that numbers meant things were fine when I finally saw what was happening." He stopped. "I should have acted sooner." She studied him. "I'm not looking for an apology," she said. "I just want the work to matter. And for people to be treated like they're not disposable." "They won't be," he said. "Not under your lead." She closed the laptop. "Then I'll hold you to it," he smiled. "Please do." That afternoon, the regional director arrived to walk the property with Quentin. Together, they reviewed the spa wing renovations, the HVAC upgrades in progress, and the outdated software terminals being replaced. The director took notes, asked questions, and listened more than he spoke. At 4, they held an all-staff meeting in the banquet room. Dozens of employees stood along the walls, some in uniform, some in plain clothes post-shift. A few of the new hires lingered near the back, wide-eyed. Quentin stepped to the front. "You don't need another speech," he said. "So I won't give one. You need to know that someone's listening. And that someone is me." He took a beat. "Effective this week, every department will receive updated staffing plans. No more single coverage, no more unpaid duties, and no more doing someone else's job without compensation." A few murmurs rippled through the room. "You'll also have a direct line for reporting issues, not to middle management, direct to corporate, and I'll be reviewing those reports personally." He scanned the faces around him, tired, skeptical, but attentive. "If you see something broken, say it. If someone's being mistreated, speak up. You won't be punished, you'll be protected." He nodded toward Ilara, who stood just to his right. "There are people in this room who have kept this resort standing through sheer will. That ends now. You're not here to survive, you're here to work with dignity." He stepped back, no applause. Just silence. And then, slowly, a few nods. Darnell crossed his arms and gave a subtle lift of his chin. Inez folded her arms, listening. Matteo leaned forward, whispering something to the bellman beside him. Ilara stepped forward next. "This place has always had potential," she said. "It just needed people who cared enough to see it through." She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. That evening, Quentin walked the main corridor alone. The lobby was calmer. The desk was fully staffed. Phones were answered on the first ring. Guests asked questions and got answers without delay. He paused near the reception counter. A young woman handed over a key to a departing guest. "We hope you'll come back soon," she said. The guest grinned. "Not just coming back, I'm telling my friends." Quentin stepped outside into the dusk air. The wind had softened. He looked back at the glass doors. The resort was no longer just a business. It had become accountable. And this time it would stay that way.